All right, Zane. Here in Colorado Springs, a month or so after the World Championships, and I figured let's start our conversation there. Um, just centered around the World Championships. You've had some time to reflect on your tournament. Obviously, it's been a little bit. What are your just thoughts, takeaways from that week out in Belgrade?
It was a really good experience for sure. Wish I could have gotten more matches in, absolutely perform better, but at the same time, it was a blessing just to be there and to have that opportunity and wrestle and compete for Team USA. So I'm just thankful I got the opportunity, and there's more obviously that I can do in the sport at that level and perform. So looking back and getting ready and moving forward, just bettering myself and getting ready for the next opportunity to be successful and not just finish or rest my hat on that one moment, but actually improve.
You're a guy who's been around a long time on the senior level. You've competed. You've been at that high level for quite a while. Just sort of jumping up close to that world team spot. I haven't been able to get there to that number one spot until this year. In your mind, what made this year different? How were you able to jump into that number one spot? Was there anything different that clicked for you, or anything that you noticed that, hey, I was finally able to get that done this year?
Yeah, pretty clearly to me, I'd say it was my faith in Christ that grew, and because of that, he alleviated a lot of the anxiety or stress and maybe mental hang-ups that I had going into wrestling, to where now I can compete more freely, consistently, and even if I was competing well or at my potential before, it never felt like I was actually reaching that full potential, where whenever I'm competing for the glory of God, I know I am reaching my full potential. He's allowing me to do that, and he allows me to be the full sense of who I am. And then if it's not successful, there's probably a lesson in there, and I could be joyous moving forward, knowing that there's more to accomplish and there's more to work on in my own life. So I think that's pretty much the most simple way to put it, and the most glaring change in my life that happened.
What keeps you around for such a long time, since you get done with college, and then it's taken you a few years to get to the point where you're on the world team and you're that number one guy? You see a lot of people churn out, I think, when they don't make it in that first couple of years, right, after college. Just what do you have to do to stay engaged and to want to stick around until you can get to that point? Because sometimes it can take a while to get to be the number one guy in the country. Obviously, it's a very challenging thing to do.
Yeah.
But for you, what is that like?
I've had a really supportive system around me of human beings, so that really helped. I think you need to be in a system that is very supportive and believes in you. And then just love wrestling, love every aspect of it. Even the parts that suck, you have to love them, and you have to enjoy that part of it. Otherwise, there's no real reason to do it, and it doesn't matter really what level you're at. If you don't love wrestling, it's not the sport for you. This is not the sport that's going to give you the type of glory or the type of financial means that other American sports give. And that's not to say I don't promote it, and I think everyone should do it and love it. It's just you really have to have that love and passion for it, and that burning desire of going into the room that day and getting better. Or maybe there's a million ways to get better, right? Sometimes it's not just working harder too, or working on a technique, but improving on your recovery. Anything in your life, going wholesale into wrestling and just improving. And part of that improvement is just having a love and passion for the sport.
So on those days where it's hard to get up, it's hard to go to the room, whatever time of year it is, how do you find that love and that passion? I think it can be really difficult to keep that all year round, to keep it year over year. Having wrestled in college, I know it's, man, I got to wake up at 5 a.m. and do this thing, and it's hard to go through the training just to get to that point where you have the time. People see 1% of what you actually do on the mat.
For sure.
How do you constantly keep that going?
Yeah. Well, love is a choice accompanied by emotion, right? So you have to have that emotional desire to want to be good at wrestling. But then it's a choice at that point, right? You can continue to actually love something, or it can just be passionate. And if you're just passionate, that's not going to serve you long term. You have to choose in those moments that are really difficult to love the sport more and to actually perform and value things that are greater than not just the victory, which is always awesome to feel, but value the things along the way to that victory. Like value working hard, value putting everything that you had into it, value the sacrifices, value the weight cut. You know, put your values and your love for the sport in those moments before yourself and above yourself, rather than your own wants and needs and desires. It really needs to come from, you know, a place where it's above just you as a human being, right? And that's why I do also think if, you know, you find Jesus, it'll really help and exemplify and lead you in a much more clear thought process in those moments.
When you're wrestling at your best, is that sort of the equilibrium you're at? I mean, you have your faith, you have your passion, you have your love for the sport, but also, I mean, and then obviously there's the technical side where you're just feeling good and strong and everything. Is that for you, your equilibrium to compete at your best?
Yeah, I mean that's something every time I go into a practice room, you know, I desire to feel, is whatever it is, you know, being my best in that moment. And sometimes being your best in that moment, you know, you're not even successful, but you get to at least be so ingrained into a moment that nothing else really exists, and you're just enjoying the splendor that, you know, God gives you. And it's a gift, man. Like, not many human beings ever get a chance to be so focused on one moment in their life to where they can truly just block everything out. Not block, but everything else more fades away, and they're tuned into this fine moment of, you know, enjoyment and love. And I really think that that's what wrestling gives me.
Going back to Worlds for a little bit, what did you learn throughout that process, in the match itself, but also in the behind the scenes and all the preparation that goes into it? What do you take away from that? I mean, you didn't achieve your ultimate goals, right, in terms of getting on the medal stand, winning a world title, but there's definitely lessons to be had from that experience to help you grow and as you pursue those goals in the future. What did you take away from that tournament?
Yeah, just take action, right? Take action. Be confident in all your actions. Don't second guess yourself. Not saying that I did that a ton, but there were some small moments in that match where I think I could have attacked more or just let my body work, and I think I was too comfortable being in the match of just like, you know, I can pass up on this opportunity, pass it. No, like, you have an opportunity, you need to seize it every second you get, right? And it doesn't mean you know, necessarily go hog wild. There's a perfect balance in there, and it's hard to focus on that in those moments. But, you know, when there's a time to act, take action, right? Be a man, take initiative, and when you do that, good things happen. And I, after seeing a lot of the results, seeing the guys who won, seeing the guys who lost, you know, even the U.S. team, take initiative. You know, be confident, take initiative.
Speaking of the team, we did end up getting first place as a team. And you're,
Hey.
yeah, that's right. That's right. What did you notice about this team? What enabled this team to be so successful? Is there something that stands out to you, just being around this group, that, you know, key to success, I guess?
Yeah, it's been a lot of the things and a lot of the, you know, descriptions that we've talked about in this interview so far is, right, like, a lot of the guys just take initiative. They're very confident. They believe in themselves. I think they all love wrestling, you know, with a deep passion, and they just work hard. You know, every practice was laser focus in each person's own style of how they focus and how they train. It was very apparent, and everyone enjoyed the moment and was very grateful for the moment too. I don't think anyone was, you know, loathing the fact that they were cutting weight or anything like that. You know, even in those moments where it's hard, they were very appreciative to just be there and to be, you know, giving it their best effort to compete on the world stage and to represent the United States. And it was a gift. And so I think that's one of the big takeaways, noticing this team. Everyone was thankful and grateful, but then competed to what they, in the moment, believed was the best of their ability. Not all of us won every single match or every single position, but we performed well as a team, well enough to win, the whole tournament, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it only happened, I mean, this is the 5th time that it happened. We have won it back-to-back years. I think the unique thing about it is the turnover. 6 different guys on the team this year compared to last year. How do you register that? Like, knowing that, hey, we have this whole new crop of individuals, but I think we won the exact same number of medals. It was very similar results across the board. How does that happen?
I mean, it comes down to a lot to the system that we've created here in the United States. It's a system that I think, as individualistic as a country as we are, and as spread out over the country as we are, we do come together a lot and train together. There's a lot of consistency, spearheaded by USA Wrestling with Bill Zadek, Joe Russell, and even the support staff is all very consistent and unselfish and giving to the athletes, and not just the number ones, but the national team guys, and even the guys who aren't on the national team. I've seen Coach Russell and Zadek treat them all the same and give them a lot of opportunity. And so I think because we all are working together and being consistent about how hard we train with each other and as a team, we're getting more consistent results regardless of who's actually in the lineup. And that breeds confidence and a bunch of other great virtues that are really positive for USA Wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, in the men's freestyle success specifically, do you feel like that's it? That's the key? Like, it feels like we're at a point, no matter who makes the team, no matter who's on national team, no matter what tournament we go to, we're the alphas, right?
For sure.
We're top dog, and everyone's coming at us. I mean, how do you? Are there any other attributes you think that help us get to that point? It's been a 15-year journey to get to this point.
Yeah, and I think it's growing in our other 2 styles, right? Especially with you can see it especially in women's wrestling. They're starting to have a lot more consistent success. Overtaking Japan obviously is a tall challenge, but they're en route to doing so, right? They are closing that gap. And I just think it starts from when we're young, moving forward. The system is relatively on the same page. There's a lot of financial investment, and we do have an amazing folk style system, starting from high school going into college, and it breeds a lot of high level wrestling. I mean, and that's why I always think, where would we be if we just wrestled freestyle instead of folk style growing up? Would it just not even be close every year? And I don't know if that's the truth, but there's something to be said about that. And so I just think there's a lot of financial support. There's a lot of support, not financially, but just time investment from people who aren't even really making money off of it, but they just want to be a part of the system and give their knowledge and expertise and work for something greater than ourselves. Yeah, and I think that unselfishness breeds a lot of success in USA Wrestling.
So you're on this world team with Olympic champions, Olympic medalists, world champions, guys like Kyle Snyder's. I think he's won 9 straight medals at the World or the Olympics. David Taylor, very consistent. Dake, same thing. They're all winning at the highest level. When you're on a team with them, what do you take away from them? What do you try to take away from them, if anything? But what do you notice that separates them in terms of their consistency over time?
Yeah, I mean, they're laser focused in on what they need to do to prepare and to be successful. And I think for myself, learning from that is being confident in my own system, because all 3 of those guys do things differently from each other, but they're all having really high levels of success over time. And there's guys like that too, maybe who aren't pulling home medals, but they have the same mentality. And so I think that's something to learn for yourself, and just anyone out there as a wrestler, you're not going to be exactly like them in your training system, but once you've figured your niche to perform and how you're going to get to your highest ability, use it and do it, and don't be ashamed about it. Keep moving forward and just believe in yourself, like, yep, this is how I get the job done, this is my method to the madness, so to speak, and just keep sticking to your guns. Obviously over time, we make small adjustments, and they do too. But there's a core set of factors that really they live and die by, that are non-negotiable, and they stick to them, you know, whether they're having success or not, because they know that that's really what's going to carry them through over time and being successful.
Taking it back to the U.S. a little bit, away from the world stage, you have a extremely deep domestic weight class that you came out on top of this year, right? You had world champion sitting there in final X that you had to take down. You got guys like Soriano, you know, a bunch of college stars, guys who've won international medals. How does that help you? You know, or does it help you having such tough competition stateside? You know, I got to sharpen myself and get ready. If I can beat Gilman, I can win a world title. I mean, how does that help you?
Yeah, it certainly does help. You know, iron sharpens iron, obviously. Whenever you're in your off season, you know, you don't need to be going gung-ho, but you got to be thinking like, okay, like what do I need to do right now to prepare for this match in 8 months, right? Now, again, does that mean that I need to be running 10-mile sprints every single day, you know, 8 months out? Probably not, but at the same time, I need to be taking my lifestyle seriously to prepare for that moment. And understand, you know, like it's a blessing to have that level of competition in the United States. So I'm just thankful that there's a bunch of guys like that to elevate my game, to put a challenge in my life, to pursue and to go after and to fulfill, and to really just be in a moment to where great things can be accomplished. And when you have more men with that same mentality, you know, you're going to accomplish great things as a wrestling country. And so if the weight class is deep, like, that's a good thing. You know, you want a deep weight class, because if you're just always the one guy, you know, who knows what you're slacking on in your training, to where, you know, am I preparing for this the right way? I don't know. I haven't challenged myself in a while. Where, you know, it's a monthly or tournament by tournament thing where, like, nope, next tournament, you know, I've got a guy coming up and I got to be ready for that, you know, and it's different seasons of how you train, but at the same time, they all push each other and raise up the standard, which is, you know, just a good thing overall.
Talk to me about your style a little bit. How do you see yourself as a wrestler? How do you define yourself? When you're clicking, when you're going out on the mat, like, what is it that you're looking for? What do you want to see when you look at yourself on tape?
I want to see myself winning.
Yeah, I think we all do, right?
Yeah, like I want that. I like scoring points more than not. That doesn't always happen. Yep. Yeah, just good wrestling. You know, I don't know if stylistically, if it's like, he really is this type of wrestler. You know, probably more of a hybrid than anything. I don't think there's anything where you're like, he, you know, state by state, he's a Oklahoma State or an Iowa guy, right? And obviously I didn't go to those schools, but at the same time, you know, I don't think my style is super easy to define. I just think and believe and try to wrestle good wrestling, good fundamentals, followed by a little bit of creativity, you know, staying in position, staying focused throughout the match. When there's opportunities to score, you take them and you execute. And when there's time to be creative, you know, you believe in yourself and you let your body do what it can, right? And so wrestling style-wise, I really don't know. And usually I like to leave that up for other people to say. It's just weird self-glossing and giving yourself your own nickname type of stuff. So, like, you know, I don't want to say it's this crazy thing. It's just, you know, I believe in just good wrestling and good tactics, followed by quality skills and technique, and, you know, just wrestling hard the whole time and fighting to every position to the end.
So you're not an Iowa guy, you're not an Oklahoma State guy. No. I think you're an Illinois guy.
Yeah, for sure.
If I could sum that up. You've been there obviously from youth through college. Now you're still training in Illinois. What makes Illinois special? Why do you, number one, what do you see in that program from, I guess you could, you know, call it the youth program, all the way through the college avenue that you went through, and why stay? What about Illinois excites you or keeps you there?
Yeah, well, it's certainly not the taxes, but in all seriousness, just the people who've been there. You know, I've been really blessed with all the, you know, my high school coach, my father, my club coaches growing up, the random clinics you do around the state. You just find these pockets of gold in wrestling knowledge and quality of wrestling and technique, where I don't know if other states have that. I'm sure they do, but in Illinois, it's always been very apparent to me that you can find really quality wrestling no matter where you're at. And I've just always believed in the men that God's put in my life, since I was little, and there hasn't been a big enough reason to change or to, abandon ship or to jump ship or whatever. It's just been a really streamlined process where all of the people in my life that I've come across in Illinois are invested in me because they just want to see me be successful. Most of them, if not all of them, really don't care about being, the reason why I'm successful or taking that and putting their ego on it. It was more of, hey, we just want you to be better, so try this thing. Or let's change your wrestling to get more success because we just love you. And I think that's the thing. Again, there's a lot of love in Illinois wrestling for each other and for the system and for the kids. And so at the same time, like that what they've given me, I want to give back. And that's why I like coaching at Fargo. It's the same mentality, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it. And even if at some point, if I ever move out of the state, I still would want to give back to the community as much as I could.
Looking forward a little bit. Not only is a big year coming up, obviously with the Olympics, we'll talk on that in a second, but you're probably leaving here next day or two to...
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, to go to the Pan American Games in Santiago, Chile, which is in and of itself a mini Olympic Games, very much similar to the way the Olympics are organized and operate. Why compete in this event? What makes this event unique and special for you that you want to go compete? You don't see a lot of guys competing right after the Worlds or this soon after the World. So what stands out about this event, and what do you hope to achieve down there?
It's another event pretty quickly to wrestle international competition and not just the domestic guys over and over again. So that's always good. You never know how many tournaments you got left before you're done. Not saying that I really know, or like that's an indicator of how much longer I'm going. God bless, I'll do 12 more years if I can. Probably not, but
if you can.
But if I can, right? And so really, I'm thankful for having another opportunity at an international competition, especially one that has a little bit more prestige to it, I guess. And this one's cool because it's a game, so it's set up to be somewhat like the Olympics. And so I look at it as a trial run for the Olympics and getting a feel for how living that lifestyle and preparing for another event. And like I said, at the end of the day, you only get so many competitions. You got to do them when you get a chance, whenever it makes sense. This one, time-wise, makes a lot of sense. So, I'm thankful, and I'm just ready for the opportunity to get back on the mat and score some points.
So speaking of the Olympics, we're in the Olympic year now. That's the goal here within a year. What does the Olympics mean to you? I've talked to a few people about this, and some people, they never watched it, but they know what it means. Some people are really tuned into it and follow it score by score, match by match. They watch all the other sports. They get really into it. Like, what does the Olympics mean to you as a wrestler? You're devoting your life to this, and that's the ultimate goal at the end of the day, right? To get that Olympic gold medal. So what does it mean to you?
Yeah. It's the epitome tournament. It is the wrestling tournament. It is the number one tournament. It is the, if you're a wrestler and you don't understand the implications of winning an Olympic title, I don't really know if you're a wrestler, but at the same time, I grew up watching it all the time. My mom and my dad and I would be watching all the Olympic events, and it's very pro-American. It's one of the coolest things you could do as an athlete. And at the same time, too, when you wrestle in those moments, you got to be able to filter that stuff out and zone in to just your wrestling match. But right now, that I can actually, absorb the thought of it, externally, it's just remarkable. It's a really cool thing that only happens every 4 years. It's a super exclusive event to be a part of, and then just to have success and to win and to bring back hardware and have a gold medal that you can bite in front of a camera. It's all really cool stuff, and it's a gift. It's one of the epitomes that humans have done positively for each other for centuries, thousands of years, and to be a part of that lineage and history as a human is really great, you know, really great thing. It's remarkable that we've all come together and we still do this ritual in a sense.
Is there anything to the idea that you're the number one guy right now heading into the Olympic year? Do you carry any of that with you?
I mean, you always have thoughts, but thoughts are just thoughts, right? And the main thing is you got to make the Olympic team, and I want to perform at the next tournament when it matters at the best of my ability, and the next tournament after that. And obviously I want to make the Olympic team. I'm in a good spot to do that, but you got to win those matches, and you got to be prepared, and you got to be focused on what matters most, which is, you know, when the time comes, perform, execute and perform. And I'm sure, you know, God will bless me and keep me in that moment ready to go, and whatever happens after that moment happens. But I'm confident that I will perform at my best when it matters the most, and this is a heck of a year to do it.
Last thing for you, what do you enjoy most about the sport? What do you love it?
I mean, it used to be a way for me to give purpose into my life. I think God is the ultimate purpose in my life now, but still on the same track, it's a gift that He's given me that I can bring purpose to Him and glorify Him, and that gift is just remarkable. And so it's the one thing in my life that's always been there and passionate with me, or that I've been passionate about naturally and gifted for. And so, you know, wrestling gives me a way to worship and glorify God in the best way I can, which is just pursuing it wholeheartedly as best as I can. And whatever happens, happens. I just know that this is a gift from Him, and that I can be, you know, thankful and grateful for the opportunity to just be a part of something greater than myself.